Good evening, everyone. It's time for another episode of Necromaniacs. How's it going, Mike? Everything going good?
Everything is good. What is up, everybody? As Mr. Hill has said, you are listening to the Necromaniacs podcast, the horror podcast coming at you every single week. It's good to be here, Mr. Hill. I feel like it's been longer than usual for me, although me and Jeff have been doing a very good job, I think, alternating lately. You think so?
Yeah, definitely. And Jeff just relocated out to Austin, Texas from LA.
Yeah.
So he's been, he's been busy, but he's, we've been getting together, doing episodes,
Totally, man. We've all been making it work, which is great. And of course, got to say what's up to the great listeners out there who support us and check us out week after week. Thank you guys. But I am well. I don't know. I feel like I might have a cold. I might be having some allergy thing, or it is round 2 of the Rona. I don't know what it is. We'll see.
I don't think, you just had it. So you got antibodies and stuff. So you're probably okay.
It's probably just a cold.
It's probably a cold.
You're all right. It's just, it's fun to make a little joke about getting it a second time in, 4.5 months. But it's probably either a cold or allergies. It is allergy season, listeners, as many of you know. But yeah, I told you before we got rolling tonight that I went to the biannual chiller. If something is twice a year, that's biannual, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And there's the April Chiller Theater out in Jersey in the October. Went to the April one, had myself a good time. I met Patty Mullen of Frankenhooker. Man, was she cool, Mike. She was really cool, really funny, actually. Funny woman, very kind of like self-deprecating humor, and super duper New York accent on her, man.
She seems like a good kid. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely a good kid. I tell you, it's very cool to have your one movie. I mean, look, most people don't even have one movie, right? A lot of actors, actresses out there. She has Frankenhooker. She is forever Frankenhooker. She's great in that movie. And I just think that that's kind of cool. No? I mean...
Yeah, it's a great film, man. It's like infinitely rewatchable, too, Frankenhooker.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just a few weeks ago on the show, I talked about that. I rewatched it. And I was just like, remembering, man, this is actually much funnier than I remembered it as a younger lad. Thanks to her and James Lawrence. And I mean, it's just as I told her, it's kind of like the old school New York love letter. And she totally agreed with me on that.
It also puts Hohokus, New Jersey on the map too.
That's right. Yeah. It's a very New York, New Jersey movie.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It was cool. Yeah. I also stopped by the Severin table and I plunked down some coin. I got the Don't Go in the House Blue, with the slip cover. I got Night of the Demon, which is a Bigfoot movie that I've never seen. Have you seen Night of the Demon?
I haven't. No.
It's a late 70s Bigfoot movie that's supposed to be quite good. And then I recently, not at the con, I took part in the Kino Lorber Blu-ray sale, and I got a bevy of movies that I'd like to plunk down and watch, including Enter the Ninja, Michael, with the amazing Franco Nero. And I also got Franco Nero's Man, Pride, and Vengeance, one of his many Westerns. And tonight, folks, we even tie in Franco Nero a little bit with the movie we'll be covering, but we'll get to that later, right, Michael?
That's right. There is a Franco Nero connection.
There's a Franco Nero connection to tonight's film. And listeners, you might have heard Doyle the cat in the background. He just gave a very loud hello. So if you hear a cat, it's my cat Doyle, who is going to be 19 years old.
That's
amazing.
Awesome. That's great, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
19 years young.
19 years young. Yes, he's a mere teenager.
Yeah.
But what about you, Mike? What have you been up to?
Just working more than normal actually, which has been kind of a drag,
Yeah.
But just things are getting crazy in my job, but it's all good. Saw a couple movies. I saw The Northman in the
Oh,
movie
you did
theater.
see it?
Yeah, I was talking to
Oh,
Jeff
nice.
about it a little bit. It was everything I hoped it would be.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna see it.
incredible movie. I'm sure someone's gonna talk shit about it, but I thought it was great.
No, it looks amazing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, just judging by the trailer and the commercials and everything, I mean, I don't know. It looks like a can't miss, you know?
Uh,
Sometimes you just know.
I feel like I want Robert Eggers to do a Conan movie.
Mm.
After seeing The Northman, I was like, yeah, this is like what Conan should be like.
Yeah, I mean, it's time. I mean, it's been a long ass time since there's been any stab or, a Conan movie. I think it's time. Don't you think?
I totally think so. In addition to that, I've been watching Outer Range. You know what that is? Have you seen that?
No.
It's on Prime.
Okay.
And it's got Josh Brolin, Lily Taylor, and Imogen Poots. Who,
Okay. Good cast.
Good cast.
Yeah.
It's let's put it this way. It's a weird tale. It's definitely a weird tale. It takes place in the West, modern times, and there's a hole in the ground that may or may not take you to another dimension. Somewhere in the past or maybe even the future. So that's all I'll say about it. It's a fucking cool show, though. I'm really liking it. Yeah. There's a murder.
Very
there's
trippy
like
sci-fi. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a murder. There's like stuff like that going on. Like there's a little bit of a crime element to it. Very, very, very good. Very strange, but for me, it's perfect. I love it.
No, it sounds great. I mean, it sounds like something I would like. You know what's weird, man? I've said it before. There's so much shit out there. Like I like if you didn't even mention this, how the hell would I know that this even was going on? Like that's how much stuff there's going on.
There's
right?
so much, and there's stuff that everyone has seen that I haven't seen yet. For example, Ozark.
I love Ozark.
I haven't seen a single episode of it, to be honest. I have never watched it, and it's like the biggest show.
That is something you would like, I think. You would dig it.
I imagine I would, and I will get to it.
Yeah. Now, listeners, since it just ended, I am not going to spoil anything, but I've watched it since day one, and man, did I not like the last episode. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. All right.
That's it. Didn't like it, but I do want you to have no, like preconceived notion. Just watch the show,
All right. Yeah, no, totally, man. And actually, I watched a documentary last night on Arrow, the Arrow app that ties in with tonight's episode. I watched Hell on Earth, the desecration and resurrection of the devils.
Now, interestingly enough, that is an extra on my DVD-R from Angel Digital, a DVD that I teased that I've had forever. So I watched half of that myself. So I will watch it on the Arrow app in a much better condition that this horrible DVD-R is. So I'm going to rewatch, so to speak. But one other thing I wanted to mention, two other things really, about back to work. I am now back in the office 2 days a week, and exhausting, the commute.
Yeah.
You don't understand. It's been over 2 years of not having to get up on a train and carve out an hour and 20 minutes one way just for a commute. And doing that back and forth for 2 days in a row is fucking exhausting. I'll say it.
Sure.
I'm very grateful to have a job, but holy shit, I feel like I'm not prepared at all. And I mean, I'm getting prepared, I guess, by just doing it. But it is just a mind fuck, people. From just working from home every day to this has been very odd, Mike.
Yeah, totally, man. I can't even imagine that, honestly. It's like I go into an office, but one of them is like 20 minutes away from here, and the other one is
Right.
maybe 30 minutes away. So I don't travel that
Hmm.
far. And
Yeah.
I've yet to travel by Jersey Transit into New York City for work. So
Right.
that would be a comparable commute for me to
Mm.
get to
Yes.
Manhattan.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I talked to a coworker today who's 90 minutes one way from Jersey Transit to Manhattan. And he was just like, wow. He was like, yeah, I forgot what this felt like. It's been, a long time for everybody, but it is what it is. The other thing, you cannot forget the plugs, people. And here they are. We want you to check out Break the Apocalypse podcast, coming at you every Friday with a new episode. We would like you to check out the Horror Wolf 666 podcast, right, Mike Hill?
That's right. I hung out with Brandon actually.
Yes, you did on your tour. Yeah, we chatted about that last time.
Yeah.
What's up, Brandon? Thank you so
I
much.
keep
for
saying
your support.
that. I keep talking about it because it was cool.
Yeah,
That's how cool it was.
I bet you had a good ass time. I would like to hang out with him. Maybe
Oh,
he'll
dude,
come
he's the
to
best,
New York
man.
one day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that would
Hopefully,
be
dude,
fun.
have him come up here. That'd be great.
Into the Necrosphere. I like that podcast. I enjoy it. I listen to it. Check those guys out. And I like to give these guys a shout, even though they don't give us a shout and they don't know we exist. Agitators Anonymous podcast. Alan Averill from Primordial, a band I enjoy very much. He's back from tour. He was off for 2 weeks. He came back last week because Primordial did a run, their first since, the Rona. And yeah, he had some interesting things to talk about from being on the road for the first time in 2 years. So that was a cool episode. So yeah, check all of that out. All right.
So that leads us nicely into tonight's episode, which is The Devils, written
That's right.
and directed by Ken Russell.
Listeners may remember the last time Mike and I got together, we kind of sort of teased we were going to cover this movie, right?
Well, actually, it's funny. Just from us mentioning it a couple episodes ago, people have been like hyped about that. I got tons of messages. Oh, the Devils is one of my favorite movies. And shout out to Lucia from Northern Ireland by way of Guatemala, who this is one of her favorite movies. So
yeah, as I mentioned, this has sat in a pile of movies to watch for a very, very long time. I guess it's because mainly it's a DVD-R. It is not a nice little shiny Blu-ray. This movie is not available in America on Blu-ray or DVD, so that didn't really help either, Mike Hill.
Exactly, man.
Until just weeks ago, it popped up on fucking Shudder, and I was like, "What the hell? No!" And did a little research, and sure enough, it's the edited version, which is the version that is unfortunately available on Shudder. Is what I watched alongside, you could say, this DVD-R that I have from Angel Digital, which is the full version, and it comes with some cool extras. And I'm glad I did. I enjoyed this movie very much. It is very controversial, but as I said before we started the show, I said to Mike, I honestly felt it wasn't as over the top as its reputation. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is very over the top. But I think I was prepared to watch like Cannibal Holocaust or Sallow, and it's not quite at that level of sickness for me. What do you think, Mike?
Well, I agree that it's not as extreme as Sallow, but you got to remember this came out in 1971.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
And, there's quite a bit of nudity in it.
Yep.
That kind of depravity,
Yes.
But also, people get super uptight when you start delving into the Catholic Church and having blasphemous imagery, and that sort of thing is what got people really upset, I think.
Yeah, and also you're right. Let's look at the time period. I think it partners well with Clockwork Orange, which is around this time, early 70s. Yeah. Another one that always cracks the list of most shocking movies ever made. Clockwork Orange is always on that list. This movie's always on that list. And of course, like I said, Sallow and Cannibal Holocaust are always there. And, you know, I bet you if you dig a little deeper, movies like Martyrs and I Stand Alone are on there, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's in the annals of controversy, excuse me. But this is, I mean, a real deal movie with a real deal script and good acting, and it's beautifully shot. You know, it's like, but it is not Caligula, folks. I feel like, I don't know, it has this weird reputation, I think, this movie. But when you watch it, you come away with something a little different. I enjoy Caligula. I'm a Caligula fan, don't get me wrong. But that is a little later in history when things were even more off the hook than the early 70s. So I think you're right.
Yeah, you know, and this, like you said, it's a real movie, man. I mean, it's got a stunning cast in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, Ken Russell, you guys might know him from Altered States. You know, that was a great film. He did Tommy, you know, the Who rock opera.
Yeah.
And he'd actually worked with well, actually let's go into the cast, I guess, who's involved in this movie. So it stars Oliver Reed as Urbain Grandier. And
one of the most manliest man of all time, would you say?
Hell yeah,
Oliver?
dude. He is like a badass, dude. Oliver Reed rules.
I love him.
Especially in this movie, you know? Very intense actor and kind of a hellraiser too, from what I understand.
No, he's one of the original hellraisers, like in my opinion. Like, you know, going back to like the 60s. He was like the original guy that if you saw you were about to make a movie with him, you're probably like, oh, fuck me.
Yeah.
Like both the men and the women, honestly, to be honest, you know. He had a rep and a half, people. Just do a little Google search if you want of this man. And but anyway, continue, Mr. Hill.
Yeah. The sublime Vanessa Redgrave as Sister Reverend, the Sister Jean des Anges. Well, these are French names here, so I'm not going to try to kill them.
Yes, takes place in France. Yep.
Yep. And then you know, there's like, I'll just go through some of the other main characters. Graham Armitage as Louis XIII. He was plays a big role in this. Let's see who else here. I probably should have did a better job of preparing myself for this.
Michael Gothard as Father Pierre Barre. He was off the hook in this movie. That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was great.
Who played Richelieu? The I don't see him listed here. He's like one of the main characters. Actually, they don't have
Christopher Luge as Cardinal Richelieu. Yes.
Okay.
He's another son of a bitch.
Yeah. Gemma Jones as Madeline, who we get into her importance in this film, and then Murray Melvin as Father Canon Jean Mignon, and that's I believe that was the Witchfinder.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I see Cardinal Wood. Okay, great. All right, so yeah, so that it's a real real actors are in this film.
Yeah.
And furthermore, the score was done by this like avant-garde composer, Peter Maxwell Davies. So everything about this film, the design, the music, the acting, the writing, you know, Ken Russell wrote and directed this, and it was based on a book. Well, there's two sources. The Devils of Loudun by Aldous Huxley, and it's you know, a factual book about this very story, which this actually happened. Like real people did.
Yeah, these are real people, folks. The characters in this movie existed in real life. Correct.
Yeah. And then there was a play called The Devils by John Whiting, and that was based. It was a dramatization of the Devils of Loudun by Aldous Huxley. So that was the source material that Ken Russell drew from to make the screenplay for this film. And in the documentary, which I was saying how this documentary ties into the film, they interviewed Ken Russell, and he was saying he just read the two pieces, and he's like, he just sat down with a notebook and a pencil, and the whole thing just fucking came out of him, essentially.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. Side note: Ken Russell, Catholic, by the way. devout Catholic, oddly
Oh,
enough.
interesting.
Yeah,
Devout Catholic.
that's what he says. Yeah,
Okay.
in the quote that I have from him. It says, I was devout Catholic and very secure in my faith. I knew I wasn't making a pornographic film. Although I am not a political creature, I always viewed The Devils as my one political film. To me, it's about brainwashing, about the state taking over. And you know what, folks? I was going to say, we didn't get into this before the podcast, Mike, is that I myself saw this movie as just as much a movie about political power as I did about any type of over religious frenzy.
Well, I
Um,
agree totally. Actually,
yes.
I think that it's a very powerful statement against brainwashing,
Hmm.
the government overreach, like that kind of thing, and
Because, yeah,
manipulation.
basically, they, the town in France where this takes place in Loudon was a self-governing town, okay? And the powers that be, the government, hated that and basically wanted to do whatever it took to take down the town and take out the priests, take out everyone in power, at, at any cost. I mean, killing its citizens. You know what I'm saying? Which we can get into.
Yeah,
And that is a very big part of the story. Yeah.
yeah. Well, there's this scene where they kind of lay it out, where Louis the 13th is,
Hmm.
this kind of debauched upper class, like depraved kind of like
Oh
king
yeah. Oh boy.
basically. He
Yeah.
probably he's just like all the things you read about, like of like crazy like rich people. He kind of
Hmm.
embodies that, and kind of doesn't really care about governing. He's just into depravity. And
Yeah.
Cardinal Richelieu is a cardinal, Catholic Church.
Hmm.
He's the one who puts the idea into Louis the 13th's head that we have to do away with these walled cities. We have to be
Yeah.
able to
Loudon.
control
Yes.
everybody. And
Right.
so that was where that whole impetus came to go to Loudon, and at the time, Oliver Reed's character,
Grandier.
Grandier,
Hmm.
was a powerful priest, a man of the
Yep.
cloth.
Everybody loved him.
Everyone
Hmm.
loved him, and he was like kind of a man of the people. He didn't want the walls to come down. He wanted everyone to, have, their freedom, and so
Hmm.
he stood against this whole movement to pull down the walls. There's
Uh,
a scene, very good scene, where there's a standoff between him and his people, and then, he circumvented the whole thing of not having the walls taken down.
Also, are we in a post-Inquisition moment? Because the governing people seem to hate the Protestants.
Yeah,
And Oliver Reed is like, you know what, let's live among the Protestants. The Protestants aren't so bad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, the Protestants are being enslaved and
yeah.
tortured and, you know, so
Well, yeah.
we're kind of looking at, I think, that historical period, right? It's
Well,
right at the
that's
end of the
why the
Inquisition.
United States came about, is for
Mhm.
religious freedom, like the
Yes, yes.
Protestants founded the U.S. basically.
But I do want to say, though, about Grandier, while he is rather beloved, he is not that good a guy.
No, definitely.
He is a priest. He's supposed to be a devout, Catholic priest or whatever, in leadership, so to speak. And he's banging broads left and right, and he gets one pregnant, the wrong one pregnant, let's just say. He's a kind of, a debaucherous man, but apparently a lot of priests back then they were not practicing what they were preaching, even though they should have been celibate. Yeah.
Well, he kind of addresses that a little bit too, where he's talking about how he interprets the Bible like in his own way, and he doesn't believe he's breaking any rules. Hey, good for
Nothing in the
him. I
Bible.
salute,
Right,
man.
right.
I mean, I think that's a stupid fucking rule anyway, man.
Yes, he says nowhere in the Bible does it say a priest can't marry or have sex, which apparently is true. That came much later on. And it is literally something that is practiced by the Catholics only. In the Jewish religion, the rabbis are married. In Protestants, the Protestant preachers are married. In the Muslim religion, their leaders are married. So yes, he's got a bit of a point there, Oliver Reed, I would say.
Now, Oliver Reed, beloved by men, but also women, white women, white French women were losing their mind over this dude.
Yes,
Losing their mind, Mike.
The nuns, people. the big problem in this movie is that it's not just the women in the town that like this priest. It's that the whole, pretty much all the nuns in not the monastery. Monasteries for the priests. What's for the nuns?
It's the Ursuline convent. It's a very specific
convent.
Yeah.
All the nuns in the convent are a little too hot for him, including the head nun, Vanessa Redgrave's character.
Vanessa Redgrave is amazing in this movie. She's like, as like a hunchback and out of her mind. Like these women are nuts because they just want to get laid. Really, that's what it comes down to.
Well, yeah, that's the crux of it. I mean, it is interesting that it's almost like right out of the gate, like before any of the real craziness of the story unfolds, the nuns are kind of dying to see him pass through this town. They're looking out this window, and they, it's like they're super into him, like right out of the gate,
Yeah. He's a handsome guy. He's got a cool haircut. He's got the
he's
mustache.
Man of the 70s.
Yeah.
Man of the 70s. Exactly.
Yeah. Oliver Reed.
Yeah.
Real quick about the nuns, though. What I do like about this film, and I was thinking about the fact that Ken Russell is a devout Catholic, and I believe you could still consider yourself a Catholic and be critical of the Catholic Church. And
sure.
And then the political elements of it and the kind of manipulation that goes on and the completely unreasonable rules that they make people live under,
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, I think anyone in any religious denomination can see that nothing is perfect, right? Every religion has its drawbacks, I would say. But yeah, it is interesting that Ken Russell himself was a Catholic guy. Made some pretty wild ass movies. He growing up as a kid, there's one movie that my dad liked that he, during the VHS era called Crimes of Passion. Very sexy movie, Michael. My dad used to watch that a lot. And then in 1991, when I was a senior in high school, he dropped the movie Whore with Teresa Russell. No relation. Yes. Whore. That is a movie he made in 1991. It was very, very controversial movie, actually. So he's never shied away from, edgy material, Mr. Ken Russell. Rest in peace.
Now, actually, with Crimes of Passion, I think I saw that movie.
Yeah. Anthony Perkins is in it.
Oh, right. And the lady that's that actress, I can't remember her name, but she's
hold on, yeah. Kathleen Turner.
Kathleen Turner.
Kathleen
Turner.
She's hot in this movie. Yeah, she's hot in this movie.
She had her period of time.
Yeah.
Where she was smolderingly hot.
Yep, and this was one of those movies. Yeah, the movie Whore is from 91. It's Teresa Russell, another, good-looking late 80s, early 90s actress. No relation to Ken Russell, by the way. But, yeah, it's about a Los Angeles street prostitute. Interesting movie. Worth seeing.
Wow. Yeah, Crimes of Passion was another movie that did not have a release for a long time. And then I remember it was a big deal when it came out.
Yeah. In the post-VHS days, it was kind of hard to find. He also did the movie I like, Gothic, about Lord Byron, Percy Shelley, with Gabriel Byrne, Julian Sands, and Natasha Richardson. Again, another little tie-in, folks. I'm going to tie a lot of these people together in a little bit. But yeah, Gothic is a cool movie. Check that movie out.
That is a good movie. I forgot it. I forgot all about that film. Yeah.
So, back to the Devils. So yeah, the nuns have the hots for him. He's kind of ruffled a lot of feathers in the town, let's just say. And now he's kind of got the government kind of gunning to take him down, right, Mike?
Yes, because he's too powerful, and
Mm-hmm.
he stands in the way of the government uniting and
Mm-hmm.
doing away with these city states and these walled
Yeah.
cities. So he's in
Mm-hmm.
the way of all that. And then Vanessa Redgrave, in her sexual frustration, and also the fact that he secretly marries,
Yeah, one of his girlfriends,
Madeline.
Madeline. Yeah.
Yeah, and she discovers that he secretly marries this lady. Oh, and Vanessa Redgrave's character is like having these sexy dreams about him that are
Crazy
like,
dream.
where
Yes.
he's Jesus
Fantasies,
Christ,
dreams. Yeah.
he's on the cross and they're rolling around in the mud and there's all this like, and she doesn't have a hunchback in the dream,
Mhm.
and very
And
racy.
there's a third level of problems. You have the problem that she's obsessed with him. You have the problem that he's went and gone off and got married. And then the third thing is that he's gotten, I don't know, someone in the town who's of some power's daughter pregnant,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And he kind of just threw her away. And she went and told everybody that the priest got her pregnant and doesn't give a fuck and doesn't care about the baby, like that whole, he's, like I said, not a great guy, a flawed man. So it's almost like he's almost ripe for getting taken down in a way, if you really think about it.
Yeah. And really, that's really, as far as I'm concerned, his abandonment of the pregnant lady is really his only transgression. He
Mm.
gets accused of things that are just not true. And
Yes.
that becomes the vehicle of his downfall.
He gets accused of witchcraft, of like devilry, and he gets accused of having sex with Vanessa Redgrave because she's kind of her obsession with him has led to her kind of mental breakdown.
Yeah.
And they bring in professional witch hunter Father Pierre Barre to perform like an exorcism on her, which is like an enema, and like it's like, I mean, you don't see it though, but it's very implied, and it just, things just start to get off the rails once the witch hunter has been brought in, and the beginning of them trying to kind of take out Grandier.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of the end.
And this is like the real hypocrisy, this whole part of it. It's like,
Mhm.
I don't know if any of you guys out there have read about like the, the witch trials in Salem, and
Mhm.
there's a great book out there called The Six Women of Salem, and they talk about just how, the angle that was being used was about control. It wasn't necessarily about, oh yeah, this is this person's practicing witchcraft or is possessed by the devil or any of that kind of stuff. And that's kind of the sense you get in this thing. Like, Sister Jean tells these tall tales about Grandier coming into a room with like
Yeah.
six other like demons basically, and having their way with him, and it's like, way with her rather. And it's kind of like, these are kind of her fantasies about like what she hopes Grandier would like Grandier to actually do with her. But
Yes, exactly.
yeah, so she's reflecting all this stuff outwardly, her frustration. She's jealous, she's jealous of this woman. And and it just, he gets accused of all this stuff, of being, a Satanist and the devil worshiper and a raper of women and like all this stuff.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I mean, pretty much none of this is true, and it is an attempt by the government to get rid of him and take him down and fuck with him. And yeah, it really is essentially, like I said, as much about as it has this this blasphemous reputation and scenes of blasphemy, which it does. A lot of it, if you really think about it, or maybe not even think about it that much, is about political power and political overreach, and the lengths that some corrupt politicians will go to for their end goal.
Yeah. And in the documentary, they kind of talk about, nuns, the Ursuline nuns, the convent, and how they're just you think of it. You and I probably have a very different idea about nuns than what actually existed back then. These are just like young, ignorant girls that their families put them in a convent, essentially, because they couldn't. They, for whatever reason, they weren't able to marry them off.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Here, put them in a convent. So they're just these simple young ladies.
The families a lot of times couldn't afford dowries for them.
Yeah.
Money for them to get married, and then they said something like in the movie where they weren't attractive, and the parents couldn't marry them off. Like it was that kind of wild. Like that was what was going on back then. Mike and I went to Catholic grammar school. Did you, Mike?
No, I did not. I went to public school, but I went to like, CCD and all that stuff too. So I didn't have the Catholic school experience.
Yeah, I did first grade through 12th grade. And all the nuns were these old ladies, Sister Mary Catherine, Sister Patrick, whatever, like, all those kind of names, Sister Valerie. And some of them were very violent, and they hit the kids, me included. I got slapped across the face by a nun once. And, this was totally going on. Literally, I would say up into maybe the beginning of the 90s, late 80s. I mean, to hear this now, any parent would lose their mind for a teacher to put their hands on the child. But in the 70s and 80s, it was okay. They didn't really care. It sounds a little crazy, maybe to some of the younger listeners, but it's true. It happened all the time.
Well, just getting smacked around in general when you were a kid was a little bit more accepted back then.
Totally.
Yeah.
But half the time the parents were on the side of the teachers anyway. It was a weird ass time. Let's just say that. So yeah, nuns were wacky. Don't get me wrong, there's some wonderful nuns out there that did a lot of good, but the ones in my school when I was in grade school, I don't know. They were very angry women who were violent. So that was my experience with nuns.
I remember, like, in high school, I'm a product of public schools, and there was a Catholic school, grade school and high school, and the girls that went to the Catholic school were wild. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big surprise.
Yep.
I've heard that before. Yeah. I mean, it was what it was back then.
Whenever I would be, if I would go to a party or something like that when I was a kid, and I saw that posse of Catholic school chicks show up, I was like, here comes trouble.
Here comes trouble. That's right.
That's all I got to say about it.
Hey, man, sometimes that's all you got to say, Michael,
Yeah.
And people understand. But, these poor nuns in this movie are, look, to a degree, they're kind of manipulated, but a good bunch of them are just kind of going along with the mania, which is kind of fake, right? And they kind of throw a poor guy under the bus for nothing. Would you agree?
Yeah, just out of frustration, It's like, it starts with Sister Jean, and she's like the head nun, so they just follow her. Oh yeah, Sister Jean says this guy's practicing witchcraft and raped her and all this stuff, so we're just gonna follow suit.
Follow the leader is basically what happens here.
Yeah.
But at some point though, Sister Jean, once they've kind of arrested Grandier and his new wife Madeline, and she does get some remorse. She attempts to hang herself, actually, out of guilt. Now, here's my question: was that out of guilt, or was that she's losing her fucking mind when she tries to kill herself?
I think she was losing her mind. Like in the beginning of the movie, she just wants to get laid, really, and then this Grandier shows up with his mustache, and like, you know, his like virile, like masculine form. And that just drives her insane, over the edge. She can't, you know, she doesn't know what to do with herself. So that's what she, you know, and then the jealousy. And then when she sees that they're going to destroy Grandier, then she's like, oh, what have I done? You know?
Yeah. Right before this scene, there's an infamous scene that I believe is not fully on the Shudder version, the rape of Christ scene, where they remove this tremendous crucifix from the altar in the church and like sexually assaulted this huge Jesus crucifix.
Yeah.
Do you recall that scene? No, that's not right. Yeah. It's referred to as the rape of Christ scene, infamous scene that got many minutes shaved off of it. I'm sure you could probably find it out there. Maybe, I don't know if it's on YouTube, but you know, these boot DVDs have made the rounds because people have heard that this movie has been, you know, truncated and they want to see the real thing. So check that out for the completists. So yeah, they grab Grandier, they fucking put on this like trial, they shave his head, they torture him, they bash his legs in. I mean, you know, it's really fucked up. And they sentence him to death by burning him at the stake alive, of course. And they keep saying, you know, to confess and confess. And, you know, they keep pressuring him to confess to these charges. And he, of course, refuses because he's done nothing wrong. So, of course, he's not going to confess to blasphemy and witchcraft and all this because he didn't do any of it. And, well, they burn him at the stake. And what did you think of that scene as far as like the severity of it?
That was powerful, man. You know what I mean? It was a powerful scene. And it just, once again, speaking to, you know, Ken Russell's Christianity, his Catholicism, it's in a way, it's a kind of cathartic because, you know, Grandier refuses to knuckle under to this like pressure that's being put on him, you know. There's even a scene where the executioner is like, he's like, I'll strangle you before we
light
and they don't get fire, to do that. You know. It's like, I'm like, gee, thanks. You know, thanks for strangling me to death before you light me on fire. That's cool. You know, appreciate it.
And one of his priests, Mignon, who was on his side at one point, of course, you know, folded like a deck of cards. He himself, you see it on his face that like, I think we're killing an innocent man here. So there's some people finally going, what the fuck are we doing? Right around this time, you start seeing the walls of the town exploding because, of course, with Grandier dead, the government can now do whatever the fuck they want to load it. And it's kind of a fucking harsh scene, right?
It has a very cynical ending, you know?
Yeah.
It's like they found their sacrificial lamb, you know, they did him in. And now the wheel of authoritarian government is stepping all over the freedom of these people, you know?
Mm. And the sad thing is that Sister Jean, for proclaiming, you know, that he was innocent, they put her in a fucking insane asylum, of course. And this is a weird ass scene. What's his name? Is it Bob? Yeah, Barre gives the Vanessa Redgrave's character his femur bone.
Yeah, it's brutal.
And however, again, it is in the uncut version, she kisses and starts to masturbate with the bone. Again, not entirely certain if any of that is left in the Shudder version. There's no like close up or anything like that, but it's, you know, it's pretty obvious.
You don't have like a wide open shot of Vanessa.
No, there's none of that going on. But it's rather, you know, yeah, you know what she's doing with it. So she's obviously lost her fucking mind. And then we see that Madeline, the poor girl that he managed to marry, has been released from wherever she was being held. It's funny because I actually was wondering what the fuck happened to her amidst all this. And she's kind of walking through the rubble of the town, and she just walks away from the ruined city, and it has that bleak 70s ending, right, Mike?
That's
Where like
right.
the crawl comes up and there's the music and there's this poor woman just walking through the aftermath of the rubble. Oh yeah.
Very powerful ending, man. You know,
Oh, very.
and like well, like we said, you know, there's an uncut version somewhere. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I would love to see it. Like the one on Shutter is edited. It's not the
Yes,
complete version of the film, unfortunately.
correct. Um, so I was going to say that there's a Franco Nero connection, and if you know your cult movie stars and your movie stars, you know that Vanessa Redgrave is married to Franco Nero. It is her second husband. Um, Vanessa Redgrave had two daughters. Jolie Richardson, who's been in many movies and TV shows, pretty actress with blonde hair, and of course her sister who died, Natasha Richardson, who was also a great actress, who was married to Liam Neeson.
Oh, yeah.
That was his widow. So very very famous family there.
You know, and Vanessa Redgrave is like you know, a thespian. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's still alive,
You
and
know,
as well as Franco Nero, they're both still alive, still married.
she's like a high level actress. You know what I mean?
Oh
So
yeah,
for her to be in this film, you know, it's kind of
totally.
crazy. It's kind of amazing, actually.
Well, wait a minute though. What's her name? Who's in Caligula? Who's like also now this a very uh big actress. We have a very similar scenario with Caligula. Hold on, give me 1 second. The name is escaping me. You know who I'm talking about?
Uh, I'm blanking though.
Hold on. This is why I always have Caligula film 1979. It has Helen Mirren is
Oh,
in Caligula.
there you
So
go.
you have Helen Mirren in Caligula, and you have Vanessa Redgrave in the Devil. Yeah, two very famous, high level British actresses. Would you say? Yes.
Yeah. You know, so anyone out there who has the Arrow app, you can
Hmm.
definitely check out that Hell on Earth documentary alongside watching this on Shutter. But
Hmm.
Mike, didn't you say you think it's already gone off of Shutter?
I thought they made a post on Instagram that said like a week or so ago, or under a week ago, that said a few days left to watch the Devils.
Oh wow, damn. So
So
yeah,
it might be gone, or it's got a week left or so. I don't know. We're recording this at the very beginning of May, May 3rd. Hopefully it's still there. If it is not there, well, back to the gray markets for you people. But hopefully
damn.
you got to catch it. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, you know, and you were saying that this is like Warner Brothers' dirty secret. This movie, right?
Yes, Warner Brothers owns this movie. And I guess the word on the street is that they don't want a U.S. Blu-ray of this movie, a domestic release. They don't want to put it out. I mean, you know, I guess I kind of get it, but at the same time, I don't think this movie's that bad. I think it should be out. How's that? You know?
Oh,
Hmm.
certainly it should be out. There should be a criterion to this movie, if you ask
Yeah.
me.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean,
Yeah.
they made one of Sallow. There's a Sallow criterion.
I mean, for fuck's sake, right? I mean, look, Caligula. Look, I enjoy it, but a lot of people think it's just like a bunch of pornographic garbage. Okay, this movie is not that. Okay, this movie should be available. You know?
But it was, you know, pegged as a film like that upon its release. You know, like
Oh,
the
totally.
critics slammed it. You know, it didn't really do that well. Of course, in England, you know, they wanted to fucking shut the whole operation down. You know.
In England, though, okay, in March 2012, the BFI released a 2-disc DVD in England featuring the 111-minute UK theatrical version. Okay, so apparently you can get this abroad. In March 2017, Shudder carried the 109-minute version, which is, I believe, the one that is up now. Back in October of 2019, the Criterion Channel, hold on a second. In September 2018, Filmstruck began streaming the same U.S. cut, and it was subsequently added to the Criterion Channel in October of 2019, almost a year after Filmstruck shut down. The film has been since removed from Criterion's offerings. So apparently for a hot minute, it was streaming on the Criterion channel.
Damn. Wow.
And it was streaming at one point on Shudder, and it was again in 2022. So it's kind of this weird history, right?
I think there should be like a Blu-ray, with that documentary on it, like similar to the bootleg that you have.
Yeah,
and
totally,
showing the full cut of this movie.
Strange. This movie was banned in many countries of Europe for like until well into the 2000s. Apparently, like you couldn't see it at all in parts of Europe, which is wild. The Hell on Earth thing is really good, though. I watched a good chunk of it on this bootleg, but now that I do know that it is on the Arrow app, which is great, to watch it there. Oh yeah, it was banned in Finland until November of 2001. I mean, that's not that long ago.
No,
I mean,
not really.
Considering, right? But again, a lot of the movies, we've talked about, and a lot of these crazy ass movies, like I said, your Cannibal Holocausts and your Sallows, they have these wild ass reputations, but ultimately you can find them. The fact that this movie is unavailable in America to a large degree is, a bummer, but it could change. I guess we'll see.
No, totally.
But I think a lot of people were able to watch it on Shudder in the 2 go-rounds, which is good. It's just you're missing somewhere between 7 and 10 minutes of it.
I'm glad I watched it twice on Shudder. Then that's good. I really got my money's worth out of it.
Yes, you did. So, which brings us to the rating of The Devils. What do you give Ken Russell's The Devils on a score of 1 to 5?
Easy. I give it a 5.
Yeah. Okay. Easy 5. I also give this movie a 5, actually. Yeah. I was thinking about a 4.5, but no, I think it's an important movie. I think it's I mean, look, like I said, excellent acting. The overall like meaning behind it is really cool, I think. It's like you're getting lured in with this religious blasphemy, blah, blah, blah. But no, if you're more of a thinking man, you realize, nah, man, this is like a fucked up government movie. It's almost like an anti-governmental movie. I don't think it's an anti-religion movie. Do you?
No, it's not. It's an anti-manipulation, anti-authoritarian film, and
right.
But it's an anti. I would say that it's an anti-corruption film because most of the people that are involved in the church in this film are somehow corrupt. Even Grandier, even though he is probably he's like the protagonist of this story, but he's like you mentioned earlier, he's no angel. He's not adhering to the letter of whatever ideology they have.
Yeah. Interesting quote from Russell on the film's controversial content. The Devils is a harsh film, but it's a harsh subject. I wish the people who were horrified and appalled by it would have read the book because the bare facts are far more horrible than anything in this film.
I picked up the book, but I haven't read it yet.
Okay, yeah. Let us know how it is.
I'll give a full report when I finish it.
Awesome. But this was a great movie to watch, fun movie to talk about for sure. Many will know that what do you call it? The last movie that our star of The Devils, Alva Reed, did was a Gladiator, and he actually died while the movie was being made. But they were able to fit, they were able to get his performance out of him and everything that he had shot is in the movie, and he actually got nominated for a Best Supporting Actor.
That's awesome.
Posthumously for that. Yeah.
Yeah,
he died of a heart attack during the making of the movie. Yeah.
I love Oliver Reed, man. Like, Curse of the Werewolf, The Brood.
The early 70s, The Three Musketeers, which is actually a really cool movie.
Yeah.
Check that movie out. He loved to drink. He was he liked to fight. He got into like bar fights.
You gotta love that guy. But I mean, he's just like an intense actor too, man. Aside from all that stuff, in addition to all that, an intense actor.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like when they say like, oh, they don't make them like that anymore, and they're like, would an actor last 4 minutes in modern Hollywood like this? I mean, no. Like he wouldn't get past one movie maybe, right? I mean, it's just different times, right?
Yeah, well, even a modern actor, if you put them back in the 70s, like Steve McQueen or like James Coburn to like kick their ass probably, you know what I mean? Like they would Charles Bronson, they wouldn't, modern actors would never survive back then.
The thing is, apparently during the height of his fame, he was, like I said, the Hellraiser. But when it came for him to act, he acted like a motherfucker. Like he acted, you know what I'm saying? He was there, It wasn't like he was a fuck up at his peak. He was a wild guy, but he was on time for work in the morning, as they say. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
How about the biopic of him? Let's go, right?
Dude, who would you get to play Oliver Reed?
Oh, wow.
No one.
I wonder.
Who?
I don't know. Holy shit.
Like,
who could fucking play him? I mean,
Seth Rogen or something.
Seth Rogen. Oh, God, no.
As Oliver Reed.
No, I would sign that petition on one of those online petitions to stop the production of that movie. It was fucking Seth Rogen. Who knows? Wow. Watch, it's like, some of these really good-looking new actors who gains like 50 pounds and like does this amazing job. Who knows, right? I mean, Michael Fassbender as Oliver Reed or something like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, maybe. Brit.
Yeah, there's no shortage of like British and Australian male actors, I tell you, that would probably do a pretty decent job.
Actually, I kind of think those guys are a little bit more manly than the U.S. actors.
Yes, one could certainly argue that. But yes, Oliver fucking Reed. Yeah, check this movie out, people. If you did, let us know what you thought of it. If you, who knows? It might be on YouTube. I'm not really sure as far as that full cut goes. If you're in Europe, you have a much easier time getting it. Or if you have an all-region player, apparently, you can get it. But I think that one that was available in the UK goes for like $100 now. Like I think it's like gone, the one that was available. So, yeah. Happy hunting.
I would, I hate to say it, man, but I probably would. If I knew that it was like the real deal, I would probably drop $100 on like an uncut version of this, European cut.
Yeah. I mean, while don't get me wrong, the shutter looks great, looks nice. Look night and day from this DVD. I gotta tell you that the shutter version.
Just FYI. As we record this, The Devils is still on Shudder. It's still available.
Oh, okay, great.
So just don't waste any time and check this movie.
Don't waste any time, yeah, because it won't be on forever. So it was on once in 2017 for a little while, and yeah, apparently this movie has a weird life. So check it out. This was a lot of fun, Mike.
Yeah, man, as usual. And
yes,
thanks for listening, and we'll check you out next week. Take care.
Yes. See you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.
as you cut away that which lies within, choosing what remains, a tough decision. Immaculate horizons, sweet roses on the breeze. When the lights arrange just right, illuminates these desert trees in waves swiftly. When will these goddamn pills wear off? Spark synaptic sequence, cold start now, sputtering cough. Will I be real when all works as it should? Would I feel okay if I even could?